Hey guys, it's me, Mario. And today we're going to continue Beast Quest. Claw the Giant Monkey. Chapter 6. Into the Volcano. How y'all doing today? Hope you're doing well. Chapter 6. Into the Volcano. Tongue flung himself off Storm and ran to the edge of the precipice. An enormous hole in the ground lay before him. Tom felt a tremor run through his body. He had seen something like this before, when he had freed Epos, the flamebird, from Melville's curse. Only that chasm had been blazing with lava and smoke. This was rich with plant life. It was the crater of a vast, extinct volcano. There's something in my teeth. I'll get out later. Tom remembered the horrors of his battle to free Epos. He had come close to falling into the boiling lava because he had moved too near the crater's border, where the ground was loose. This time he sank to his knees and crawled to the edge. Far below, the heart of the crater was as dark as night. Trees grew tall, reaching up towards the blue sky, desperate for light. It was almost impossible to make out the ground beneath the luxurious canopy of leaves. There was no way that Silver could have survived that fall. But then Tom caught sight of the wolf's silvery belt. His heart leaped with joy as he saw Silver crouched below him, on a nearly invisible ledge beneath the lip of the crater. Got it. Excuse me. Somehow the wolf had stopped himself from falling any further. Silver stood on his back legs as Tom reached out to him, nosing thankfully at Tom's hand. The ledge was at an awkward angle, tucked underneath the overhang where Tom lay. Reaching down, Tom sank his fingers into Silver's thick belt and grasped hold of the loose folds of skin around the wolf's neck. He heaved with all his might, and the wolf scrambled out. "Good boy," Tom murmured, rubbing Silver's head. He felt faint with relief. The wolf suddenly pulled away from Tom. He ran to the edge of the precipice again, pacing nervously near the edge, sniffing at the air. He growled softly and looked at Tom with his brown eyes. "What is it?" Tom said, his heart filling with hope. Silver whined and paced close to the crater, stopping just short of the edge. Stones broke away and bounced down the sheer slope, out of sight. The golden helmet would help Tom see what Silver had scented. He ran to Storm and lifted the helmet from the saddlebag once more. Then he placed it on his head and gazed back down at the crater. He could see brightly colored beetles and sleeping snakes, and every leaf was pinpoint clear. Tom's eyes swept the ground again. Then, through a crack in the canopy, he spotted Elena in the gloom at the heart of the crater itself. She was sitting on the ground, her head in her arms. Scattered around her were piles of gleaming white bones, picked clean. It was Claus's lair, the place he brought his victims to. She looked unhurt, but she was trapped at the bottom of the crater. Tom's head was whirling. He had to defeat Claw and get the chainmail only by completing the suit of golden armor piece. By piece could he rescue Eldaru, but first he needed to save Elena. "You can do this," Tom told himself. "Take it one step at a time." He glanced around looking for the beast. He didn't want Claw to know he had found Elena. I don't know what my left arm is doing. Then he gave a long, low whistle to catch his friend's attention. The beast was less likely to hear him that way. Elena looked up. The thick canopy of leaves was blocking her view of Tom. He whistled again. Getting to her feet, Elena moved to a piece of clearer ground, and grinned with relief when she saw him. Tom placed a finger on his lips, warning her to stay quiet. He could smell Claus's stench. The beast wasn't far away. Shadows danced on the ground from the branches high above, playing tricks on Tom's eyes. He whirled about, his eyes darting from shadow to shadow. Where was the giant monkey? At last, Tom spotted him, high in the canopy above Tom's head. Claus's long, clawed tail swung lazily back and forth. It looked as if the creature was asleep. The chainmail glimmered and glistened around his neck. Clinked around his neck. The sound made Tom think of tiny bells. His heart quickened, the armor seemed to call out to him, shining softly in the sunlight. Tom hesitated, glancing back at the crater. Elena first, he thought. He looked at the vertical walls of the precipice. There was no way down or up, and it was too deep for any of the nearby vines to reach the bottom. Tom was at a loss. He had no idea how to rescue Elena. A hissing sound made him look down. Elena was gesturing something. At last, Tom realized what she wanted. Her bow and arrow. Tom began a careful sweep of the ground where Claw had dragged Elena to his lair. Silver kept watch at the mouth of the crater while Storm quietly cropped the grass. At last, Tom spotted the familiar leather quiver holding Elena's arrows. Beside it lay her bow. They hadn't fallen into the crater, but they were teetering dangerously close to the edge. Tom reached for the weapons, but they were just so. but they were just too far from his grasp. He couldn't creep any closer to the edge, or he would tremble over, and all would be lost. He watched in dismay as a gust of wind caused the quiver to seesaw gently over the chasm. There wasn't a moment to lose. Wrapping one hand around a nearby gum tree, Tom leaned as far as he could, as he dared, towards the weapons. His fingertips brushed the quiver, but he wasn't close enough to grasp it. He uncurled his fingers slightly from the gum tree and dug his toes into the damp ground a little further. Just a little. Suddenly Tom felt his fingertips slip from the gum tree. His toes scrambled for grip, but it was hopeless. He felt himself toppling, and there was nothing he could do. Tom was falling. The quest was lost. Elderu, Tom thought. Elderu, I'm sorry. But then, just as he was about to tip over the edge of the crater, something grabbed his leg and held him fast. Tom glanced over his shoulder to see Silver gripping his trouser leg in his powerful jaws. Grasping the bow and arrows firmly in his hand, he rolled back from the edge of the crater with a hammering heart. "Thank you, Silver," he whispered, throwing his arms around the wolf's strong neck. What would I do without you? He tried the bow and quiver of arrows together with a vine and threw them down to Elena. Without a word, she took the arrows in her quiver, fitted them to her bow, and began firing them into the walls of the crater. Everything became clear as Tom watched where the arrows fell. They had formed a ladder up the crater, while that while that he could climb to safety. Tom fell back with a gasp of relief. The ground was cool under his back. He knew how lucky he was to have such a quick-thinking companion on his quest. On this quest, Alana would climb out of the sleeping volcano, and then they would face Cloud together. And that was chapter 6. Chapter 6. That was chapter 6, Into the Volcano. Whew. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna get myself something more to drink, and then I'm gonna do the dragon book. Sorry I'm not doing this video on Saturday or Sunday or whatever day I said I would make these videos. I don't know. I guess I have to check my channel whenever I make them, I guess. The bell helps with that. Notifies you every time I make one. So, hope you guys enjoy my videos, and I hope you subscribe as well. Hit the bell. Maybe leave a comment if you want to. Well, see you guys in the next video. I'm a little tired. Well, bye bye.